Good day. My name is Mary Jamie L. Dilemas from Grade 12 AVMA, and I will be discussing about media and information sources. So, what is media and information sources? Basically, it is used for searching information, which includes media, where we are all aware of the word social media. I will be discussing about three main sources of information, and next to that is the classification of source information. So, let's start. Now, the main sources of information contains indigenous knowledge or indigenous media. Next is the library sources, and the last one is internet sources. First is the indigenous knowledge or media. So, it is unconventional source of information. It is based either by people media or indigenous media. There are also characteristics in indigenous media or knowledge. First, it is the practice of oral tradition of communication. And the second one is information is stored in memories of people. Well, basically, in this part, indigenous knowledge, people would rather talk to another person face to face than written. And lastly, the third characteristics of indigenous knowledge is information is contained within the border of the community, which is understandable. The second main source of media and information is library source. So it is a place in which literary, musical, artistic, or reference materials are kept for use but not for sale. There are also types of library. There are four types of library based on my own research. So academic library, which serves for colleges and universities. The second one is the public library, which serves the city or town. The third one is school library, which is we're all aware of it. It serves for the students, especially those studying elementary, high school, and senior high school. Lastly, the fourth library, which is called the special library, which serves government facilities like hospitals, museums, and etc. And for the third main source of media and information sources is the internet source. It is form of broadcast media and includes any news or information gained from an internet website. So it has its advantage and disadvantages. Its advantage is accessible and convenient to use that one can obtain a vast amount of information within seconds, which we all know that. On the other hand, its advantage is that it is difficult to check the accuracy of some information on the internet because we all know that not everything in the internet are facts. We are now done with the three main media and information sources. So now I will be discussing about other classification of information sources. So now I will be discussing other classification of information sources, which includes primary sources, secondary sources, and the tertiary sources. So the first one is primary source. To define it in a simple sentence, it is a raw data or original source of information before it has been analyzed. Its characteristics is first-hand observations, contemporary accounts of events, viewpoints at the time. So, for examples of primary sources are interviews, speeches, diaries, birth certificates, journal articles, and many more. So next to primary source is the secondary sources. So to define it as well, it is the source that analyze or interpret the primary data. They do not offer new evidence. So its characteristics is interpretation of information written after the event over review or critique. Some of its examples are biographies, journal articles, textbooks, commentaries, editorials, and literary criticisms. So for the last classification of information source is the tertiary source. I will be defining it as it is a source that compile data on a particular topic. So some of its characteristics are collections or list of primary and secondary sources, reference works, or even finding tools for resources. Some of its examples are encyclopedias, bibliographies, abstracts, indexes, literature, reviews, library catalogs, and databases. So this is the end of the discussion, but before we end it, now that I have explained about the three main media information sources, which are the indigenous knowledge or media, the library sources, and internet sources. And next to that is the other classifications of information sources, which are the primary, secondary, tertiary sources. So the question is, why is learning about this topic important and what can students benefit from it? So I'll be answering the first question. So for me, media literacy is essential because it helps people understand the message that we are being communicated to them. With so many sources of information nowadays, media literacy can help people identify reliable sources and filter through the noise to get at the truth of that certain topic. So for the second question, what can students benefit from it? So as a student, first and foremost, media literacy helps students become wiser in consumers of media, as well as responsible producers of their own media. Along the same lines, teaching media literacy helps to foster critical thinking in students. So I hope that I have explained well and showed you my interpretation of the lesson given, which is the media information sources. So that would be all. Thank you and God bless. Once again, my name is Mary Jamie L. De Lemos from grade 12 ABMA. Thank you.